So as mentioned on Friday, today is JT's birthday. So if we can all just send a nice message of positivity to him, he's got a great birthday because it's always going to come at the beginning of a month. It gives him that fresh start. JT, happy birthday to you. Congratulations on another year of life. We're happy for you. And I hope this year brings nothing but the best to you. Unfortunately, it is going to start off with a test, but I know you're going to ace this test. So it's all good, right? Please just forgive me. Don't be too angry. This was scheduled before I knew it was your birthday. All right. It's not personal. However,
it's fine.
Thank you to everybody sending him a nice message in the chat. So today's test is going to be about Unit 2, which we've covered over the last week. It will be worth 100 formal points. So this is a great opportunity to boost your grade if based on where you're sitting right now, it's not where you want to be. So take it seriously. It is cumulative, so it is 8 questions longer. We've got 33 questions this time. It is also timed, though, so I want you all to be conscious of that fact. Unless there is a reason that's been already communicated to me as to why more time is needed, I do expect that you all get it done in this class period and in the allotted time. Keep in mind that all of your asynchronous assignments are due today. Hopefully you all got my remind message yesterday that I sent out just to remind you to be working on those, because they were great preparation for today's exam. But even if you haven't completed them up until this point, you still have this evening to do them. Thank you for joining us, Sienna. I do want to mention to Janelle. Is Janelle here? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Janelle is here. Janelle, I got a message saying that I had the wrong number for your remind chat. Don't know how that happened, but I want to see if we can try to get that cleared up so that we can have some open.
Oh yeah, I changed my number the other day, and I think I forgot to update it.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to kick that person out of our remind chat, and then hopefully you can rejoin. We'll figure that out later. And then the last thing I want to mention is that today's test, you will not be able to use notes, but you all are, I'm sure, quite prepared for the test regardless. I've already started recording. Today is Unit 2 test day. It is February 1st, 2021, aka JT Day. It's the 6th day of our second unit. The objective today is to demonstrate our content knowledge on a cumulative Unit 2 exam. The essential question, we've got 2 of them today. How well have I grasped the first 6 standards of biology, and where is my room for growth? So in biology, as I've stated before, we've got 30 standards. Seems like a lot, but as you can see, we move through them pretty quickly. Some of them are very easily intertwined. We've gone through 6 of them so far. So do the math, 6 divided by 30, that's 0.2. So we've done 20% of the class so far. And that also lines up with the fact that we've gone through 2 of the 10 units, which is also 20%. So we're already a fifth of the way through this semester, guys. Things are really moving quite quickly, but don't be discouraged. There's still room for improvement for everybody. And that's what that second essential question is getting at. After today, I want you all to be intentional in your thinking. What areas of growth do you still have? Maybe there are 2 or 3 standards where you're knocking it out of the park, 2 or 3 standards where you're doing okay, but there's 1 standard where you're struggling. That 1 standard needs to be your focus going forward. We're going to talk a little bit about data analysis after today, and I'm going to show you guys how you can access and figure out which standards are your biggest room or your biggest area for growth. So we'll talk more about that. But I do want you all to get in that mindset, thinking about how you can be strategic and improving, not just reviewing everything, because there are some things that come easily to you all, I'm sure. You might be like, I understand the organelles. I know what the organelles do. I know how they function. And I've basically memorized them. But this thing about the relationship between DNA and proteins, I don't get that. When you're strategic with your studying, you can ask me, say, hey, Mr. Rudd, can we get 15 minutes on the calendar to just talk about standard 4.1.1? Or, hey, Mr. Rudd, can you send me some practice questions about standard 4.1.2? This is how good students separate themselves. This is how great students separate themselves from good students. This is how you raise your game to another level. And I expect that all of you are interested in doing that. And I also expect that all of you are capable of doing that. So let's start being strategic, and we're going to get better and better and better as we move through this course. Today is February 1st. So in addition to the fact that today is JT's birthday, it's also the beginning of Black History Month. I'm sure you all have talked about this in your 2 classes. Hopefully I cross my fingers. In fact, send me a message in the chat if you have not yet talked about Black History Month in in one of your 2 classes today. I'm just curious and seeing who has not talked about it. Interesting. Okay, we've got 2 people who haven't, 3 people who haven't. Only homeroom. Another, wow, this isn't good. This is not good. So just an informal survey conducted in the chat just now is revealing that too many of us have not yet discussed Black History Month in class. This is something we should be discussing in all of our classes. Black history is relevant to science, it's relevant to math, relevant to English, social studies, CTE, we can bring it up there. So push your teachers, tell your teachers, hey, I expect that we talk about this in class today. I think your teachers will respond positively to that. We've got other heritage months as well that come up, and those are great opportunities for us to tie in other concepts. We had Hispanic Heritage Month between September 15th and October 15th. We've got Women's History Month coming up next month. Even though Pride Month typically happens over the summer, there are still opportunities to bring that into the curriculum. So we should be pushing our teachers to say, hey, we want this information. And if you can't give it to us, then we're going to go get it from somewhere else, or we're going to bring it into the classroom on our own. Okay, so this is relevant stuff, and I'm going to talk about why, but we are going to spend parts of this month tying in biology to Black History Month. All right, it's still very, very relevant. The first thing I want to teach you all, and you all can teach me some things as this month goes on. Keep in mind that I did study African American studies in college. It was one of my 2 majors. So it's something that I'm passionate about, but I'm always willing to learn more. And I know you all have unique experiences. So I want you to bring those experiences into class and help me learn some things as well. But one thing that I want to teach or share with you all is the reason for these colors. You're going to see these colors a lot this month. The reason is that they represent the Pan-African flag. So the Pan-African flag recognizes the fact that Black people live all over the world in all different countries, representing many different ethnicities and cultures. And so the fact that we don't all represent a singular nation means that we cannot unite under a singular flag. However, this Pan-African flag gives us an opportunity to recognize our roots, our shared culture, and our shared history. The red in the Pan-African flag represents the blood of our ancestors. And as you all know, many of you are coming from really strong cultural backgrounds, and you know that the importance of elders continues to this day. We're always told to respect our elders. Sometimes it comes off as like, respect old people just because they're old and they haven't done anything to earn the respect. But in most cultures, there is a certain unique quality tied to old people, elders who have gone through a lot, who've seen a lot, who have experienced life, who have sacrificed on your behalf. And in addition to those living elders, we've also got to recognize those who have passed, who have still contributed to our lives in meaningful ways and in ways that sometimes we're not even aware of. So it's important that we include that color to recognize our ancestors. Black is the color of our skin. So this is one area where we can certainly tie in science. And I've got an assignment lined up for you all that I think you will enjoy this semester. I typically only give it to my AP students, but I'm going to give it to you all as well. And we will explore this topic of skin color and how it is and is not related to race. So I'm not going to say too much about it right now, but I want you all to be on the lookout for that. Race is not a biological concept. We'll say that right now. I want to put a period on that. Race is not a biological concept. You will hear people argue that race is biological, but in fact, there is actually more difference within race, more genetic and physical differences within a race than there are across races. What this means is that you'll find more genetic differences within Black people than you would find between Black and white people. All right, so the idea that race is a biological fact is not really supported by today's scientific standards. We know that skin color is a result essentially of where your ancestors lived. If you have a lot of ancestors who lived closer to the equator, you end up having darker skin. If you have a lot of ancestors who lived further away from the equator, you end up having lighter skin. But of course, we've had over the course of many centuries a lot of intermingling that has introduced people of many cultures and many geographies into the same place and given us a wide spectrum of skin color that really is not a determinant of what race a person may be a part of. We'll talk more about that. And then lastly, green is the color of the mother continent of Africa. As I said, the African diaspora is a wide one. We've got Black people living all over the world. But we recognize that this continent of Africa is the birthplace not only of our culture, but also of humanity. And that is another scientific concept. We can actually look and see, based on the fossil record, that the earliest humans did come from Eastern Africa. All right, and so we have to recognize that this place of, very wide-ranging ecosystems is also the home of modern humanity. Some of you might feel isolated by these conversations because you're like, I'm not Black, and I've never seen myself as Black. My family doesn't consider itself to be Black. But I want to remind us that Black History Month is for everyone because the African diaspora is all of our histories. This word diaspora literally means to spread seeds, to spread spores. Okay, so diaspora is a word that could be applied to many different cultures. You might hear of the Jewish diaspora. You might hear of the East Asian diaspora. But what it's saying is that people who have a common ancestry coming from a singular place have been spread out all over the globe now. And we know that this spread has been facilitated in large part by the transatlantic slave trade. So it's a spread that is a tragic one, but it has led to a modern case, a modern situation in which we've got Afro-descended people whose ancestors are from Africa living all across the globe, primarily in the Americas, but also some in Europe, also some in the Middle East, also some in Eastern Asia and Southern Asia, and even some in Australia. So we've got to recognize that our cultures have all been influenced by African cultures. You can think about the rhythm of certain musics. I know we've probably got some fans of reggaeton in this class. We've probably got some, I know we've got some hip hop fans in this class. And in some cases, you might even think of some classical music and jazz being influenced by African culture. So music is a great example of how Africa has influenced where we currently are today. Food is another example. I know that we've got some interesting food preferences in this class, and I looked at your virtual lockers, and we've got some really talented chefs in this class, and hopefully we get a chance to sample some of our creations at one point. But food is another example. The vegetables that are used in Western Africa became some of those same vegetables that are used in the Americas today. The cultivation and the spread of molasses and sugarcane as a result of the slave trade is obviously a major part of the foods that we eat today. So we can think about the ways that African food, African language is another thing. Some of us, even some aspects of what we might consider Spanglish, or some people in this class might be familiar with Creole. These all have African language ties. Religion is another example as well. So all of our cultures have been touched in some way because of this transatlantic slave trade by African cultures. And we can see in this helpful map on the right exactly what I'm talking about. Brazil is it clearly is the biggest case of Afro-descended people in Latin America. And the reason for that is because they received a lot of slaves between 1700 and 1900. So 97 million Brazilians today are Afro-descended. That doesn't mean that they all consider themselves Black. Some of you are Spanish speakers, and so you've heard of the phrase mestizo. You may have even heard of the phrase branqueamiento, which means whitening. So those things are real in the culture of Brazil and in the culture of Latin America. People have chosen literally to whiten themselves, maybe not physically, but culturally. And so instead of considering themselves Black, they'll say, oh, I'm mulatto, or I'm mestizo, or I'm brown. And so eventually it starts to, culturally, you're trying to separate yourself from this idea of Blackness, which is has always been tied to racial stereotypes. But we can see, even in places like Mexico, 1.3, almost 1.4 million Mexicans are Afro-descended. 3.9 million Cubans are Afro-descended. About 1 million Ecuadorians are Afro-descended. 7,000 El Salvadorians are Afro-descended. All right, so we've got people from across Latin America. Those some people might not consider themselves Black because they've got indigenous ancestry, they've got European ancestry. All of these things tie together to create the current situation. But it underscores why this month is for everybody. It underscores why this history is important for everybody. And that's just based on family lineage. We could also talk about the political ties between these countries as well, and how revolutions in one country have been spawned because of revolutions in other countries, and how fights for Black freedom have been spawned because of other countries as well. So the ties are definitely there. It's going to be something we talk a lot about. What I want you guys, as I like to give you a message of positivity at the beginning of every week, what I want you all to take from not only today, but also as we have these conversations throughout this month, is just how much you matter and just how much your history is represented. So young people have had an extremely important role to play in the fight for Black freedom. We can think about a woman named Diane Nash, who was a college student in Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I went to college. She went to a different school, but same city. She was a young college student, only 20 years old when she became a freedom rider, risking her life to travel throughout the American South in order to demonstrate the inequity and unfairness of not being able to stop and get gas, not being able to stop and use the bathroom, not being able to stop and buy a hamburger. The Greensboro Four were college freshmen at A&T, North Carolina A&T, only about 2.5 hours away from here when they staged sit-ins. They went into a Woolworths, which was a department store, kind of like what we might consider Target today. And they sat at the lunch counter and refused to get up. And they were essentially allowed to stay there, but the manager got so frustrated that he couldn't do anything. The police officers couldn't do anything, so they just closed down the entire lunch counter for the day. The next day, they brought more people with them. The day after that, there were 100 people. A few days after that, 1,000 people. And so it spawned these sit-ins not only in Greensboro, here in our state of North Carolina, but across the American South, in Atlanta, in Nashville, in Birmingham, in Jackson. Fred Hampton was only 21 when he became a national leader of the Black Panther movement, the Black Panther Party. He was a native of Chicago, which is where I'm from. Unfortunately, he was assassinated by the Chicago Police Department, but he did amazing things at the young age of 21. He was able to mobilize huge portions of the city, people who were Black, brown, white, and everything in between, in order to fight for economic access and economic freedom. And he was only 21 when he was doing these things. Students across the country have protested for various causes. We can think about not only civil rights, but we can also think about ending South African apartheid. That spawned huge protests throughout the country with Black students. We can think about the protests following the Rodney King beatings in LA in 1992, huge protests. We can think about more recently Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown and Sandra Bland. We can think about all the protests that happened as a result of those killings. And then, of course, last year, we can think about the protests that came out of the killing of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. But students have a long history of activism, not only college students, but high school students. And then only a couple weeks ago, we, of course, saw Amanda Gorman, who's only 22, deliver a beautiful, poignant poem at the presidential inauguration. So these histories matter. Young people have historically been some of the most marginalized people in our country. And I think you all sometimes have felt like your voices don't matter. The things that you can do don't matter. But I'm here to tell you that it's not the case. It's important to acknowledge that you don't know everything. And even to this day, and I hope for the rest of my life, I'm still learning. And you all will still learn as well. So as 16-year-olds, you don't know everything, but that's okay. That doesn't disqualify you from having a voice, from having a seat at the table. It doesn't disqualify you from working hard to learn, to know more. And it doesn't disqualify you from having a hand in the future, because the future is ultimately yours. When our parents and our grandparents are gone, we are left with the realities of their decisions. And so we need to be making strong decisions for our children and grandchildren. We have the opportunity to take our society in a slightly different direction that is going to be more equitable and healthier for everyone. All right, that being said, happy Black History Month. Enjoy the lessons that we have today, or not today, but this month, and I'm looking forward to them. First, before we get to the test, we'll do some quick Kahoot review. This should leave us with about 35 minutes to do the test, which means that you all probably, some of you will bleed into your fourth block taking the test. And if you need me to send a message to your teacher, I'll tell them that, hey, this student needs like 10 minutes to finish their test, so don't worry about it. But first, let's do this Kahoot. All right, so we're going to go to www.kahoot.it, and it's the game code 2933940. Of you who have already, computer's being really slow. Just take 30 more seconds to join. We've got 9 folks, but there are 18 of us in the class today, so we're only halfway there. Try to join. Of course, if you're not able to join right away, you will have time after we've started.
Right now, you can own your very own prokaryotic cell for 7 easy payments of 99 shipping in, or upgrade to the eukaryotic package for 24 easy payments of 99 plus shipping in.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Which organelle is considered to be the brain of the cell? Excellent. That's what I like to see. This was a gimme question. So 13 people got it right. That's beautiful. Not even going to spend time talking about it. Abigail just happened to be the quickest on the trigger that time. Good job. How are the ribosome and the nucleus related? Okay, excellent. 9 out of the 11 of you who responded got it right. The nucleus has DNA, and the DNA is the instruction manual to make proteins, and ribosomes are in charge of making proteins. Good job. Lisa's still in first. Nice round number there. Let's keep it going. What type of cell is seen in the picture? Okay. So this picture shows a eukaryotic cell. Some of you, 2 of you said plant cell, 5 of you said prokaryotic cell. It's not the best picture. It's not super detailed, but this circular thing in the middle is going to represent a nucleus. So that eliminates the possibility that it's prokaryotic, which eliminates the possibility that it is bacterial. So we're left with 2 options, plant or eukaryotic. I don't see any chloroplasts here, really, nor do I see a cell wall. So not the best picture, but should have gone eukaryotic there. Good job to the 6 of you who did. A cell has been discovered in which multiple chloroplasts are present. What type of cell is it? Good. 10 out of the 13 of you who responded, not going to spend any time there. What is the function of the flagella? Cool. The flagella is there to move the cell. It's a tail, almost similar to a tail. Propels the cell. Good job, JT is heating up. Based on the picture, what type of cell is seen and what is the evidence to prove it? Yeah, that should have been a good easy one. Clearly, that's a plant cell. It's got the big rectangular cell wall. We can see, is that a chloroplast or mitochondria? We can see F. Those are chloroplasts there. So that's a good one. Abigail's on fire. JT, Carolyn, Melissa, Josue. No movement at the top. Good job, folks. Glucose is a carbohydrate all organisms need. Which organelle uses glucose to make energy? All right, this was a tougher one. Some of you said chloroplasts. Remember, chloroplasts create glucose. Mitochondria use glucose to make energy. Let's see if there's movement this time. Nope, we're steady at the top. A unicellular organism lives in water. Predict the outcome if its contractile vacuole failed. All right, another tough one. Remember, the contractile vacuole expands to take in water and it squeezes, it contracts to squeeze out water. If it doesn't have that ability to pump the water out, the cell could actually burst. That was a tough one for our top contenders. What are the tiny structures within eukaryotic cells called? This should be an easy one. Wonderful. They're called organelles. What would most likely happen if all the ribosomes were removed in a plant cell? Yeah, it would be unable to make proteins. Womp, womp, womp. Good, keep up the streaks, folks. 7 questions. Which organelle is found in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells? Yes, ribosomes. Every living thing needs ribosomes because all cells need to produce proteins. This slide is viewed through the 50x objective lens. What is the total power magnification? Quit, quit, quit. Yeah, 50 times 10. The objective lens times the ocular lens. The ocular lens is almost always 10x, so that gives us 500. Big jumps from Melissa and Dejan. What are the functions of the cilia? Yeah, movement and sensing. Good. Which organelle is responsible for photosynthesis? Yes, the chloroplasts. Good. This organelle is made of lipids and is responsible for controlling what enters and exits the cell. Wonderful. 2 questions left. Which cell is considered to be more complex? And last question. Bacteria are simple cells with ribosomes, cytoplasm, and a cell membrane. Therefore, they are wonderful. Ooh, wow. Excellent job, Melissa. 16 out of 17. wonderful Carolyn. And the best of the day happens to be Abigail. She also got 16 out of 17, but she did it in less time, quicker answers. Good job to everybody. I'm really confident about how you all will perform today on our tests. So let's go ahead and get started. Remember, we're always going for mastery. Today, mastery is going to come from answering 27 questions correctly. There are 33 questions on the test. I'm not sure why my on. Yeah, always going for mastery. That's an 80%. That means you need to answer 27 of the questions correctly. That's totally doable. I hope that the warm-ups have been preparing you all a little bit better this unit, so I'm confident that you'll do well. And let's go ahead and get started. Let's lock in and knock this out. We've got 27 minutes, so like I said, if you need to run over, I will definitely allow that. But the test is timed, so please pay attention to the amount of time you have left. The test code, once you get to SchoolNet and click on Take a Test, is U2WM Bio, as in Unit 2 WestMet Biology. I can see Deasia and Janelle and Ashley and Lisa and Araceli have started. Uh-oh. And I can see that Santuan has started. I can see that Abigail has started and JT and Abina and Melissa. Tiana and Nico, are you having any problems that I can help you with? Please let me know. I want to see you start soon. Hi, folks. It's now 1:20, so yes, those of you who are done can absolutely go. And those of you who are still working, if you need me to send a message to your teacher, please just let me know, and I'd be happy to do that. Of course, it probably is possible for you to just join the other class at the same time, but keep working. Please pay attention to your timer. I see some of you still have quite a few questions to go. Please don't allow yourself to run out of time. I will be here to answer any questions you all have. Thank you. Have a good day, you all. Appreciate it. Sienna, are you good?
Yes, I'm still doing my test.
Okay, no problem. Do you have any questions?
No,
Okay, how's everything going?
good.
You feel okay this week?
Yeah,
Okay. Is there anything I can help you with?
no.
All right. Just let me know if that changes. I'm going to get off, but if you have any questions, then you can let me know.
Okay,
Okay, bye-bye.
bye.